Ophelia and the Federal Bar Council, and thank you, Carol, for your gracious remarks, particularly those relating to the history of the Eastern District. I'd like to back up a little bit, though, to an earlier time in our country's history, and provide the view from the other side of the East River, from the center of the known universe, as it were. As you all know by now, the Southern District just completed a year-long celebration in honor of the 225th anniversary of its first sitting on the first Tuesday of November in 1789. As you all know by now, because we were the first federal court in the country to sit, we're often referred to as the Mother Court. Thank you. Jim Zirin, author of the book entitled The Mother Court, has called Judge Kimball Wood and me the Mother Chiefs. Or is it the Chief Mothers? I can't quite remember. In any event, Judge Wood and I have been honored to preside over the oldest and busiest federal court in the country. And by the way, Carol, as I listened to your warm remarks about your father, I'm wondering if he had happened to mention to you that the Motley Crew is undoubtedly a reference to another Mother Chief, the Honorable Constance Baker Motley. Now, of course, all of our former chiefs are not Mother Chiefs, and I would be remiss if I did not recognize Judge Michael B. Mukasey over here at table 25, and Judge Thomas P. Brisset at table 37, the two chiefs who preceded Judge Wood and me, and we're fortunate, of course, to have them with us today. Our first judge, James Duane, was born right here on the island at the center of the world. He served as the first mayor of New York after the evacuation of the British. I'm not quite sure, but I think he and his partner Reed were in the drugstore business before his appointment to the bench. Now, as Carol pointed out, the Eastern District was carved out of the Southern District in 1865. Even then, like every proud mother, we were happy to see our upstart offspring leave the nest and establish a home of their own. After all, it only took them 75 years to leave home. And isn't it cute that they now have their own judges and courthouses? Like every proud mother, we were delighted at the renovation of our grand ancestral lands, the Thurgood Marshall Building, designed by Cass Gilbert and built in the 1930s. Like all children, however, following in their parents' footsteps was not good enough for the Eastern District. No, not them. They had to live in Shishi, Brooklyn, although not in the traditional studio apartment. And also, like every proud mother, we chief mothers quail over the grandchildren, whatever that must mean. Yes, the Eastern District has spawned offspring somewhere out east. It might not be the Hamptons, but I've heard it's a lovely beach community, Central Iceland, I think. I can never keep quite track of the grandkids. I do note, however, that our respective newer courthouses were named for the two greatest United States senators in history, the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Building at 500 Pearl Street and the Alphonse D'Amato Courthouse in Central Iceland. Of course, as you heard, they were the senators who suffered Judge Ammon and me to be nominated as district judges. Senator D'Amato, please stand and accept our thanks to you and Senator Moore. Carol and I hope we've made you proud. Now, although the Eastern District is the Mother Court's offspring, Carol and I are much more like sisters. We've often been joined at the hip, trying to placate the well-meaning but wacky relatives who sometimes try to meddle. And of course, I refer to the administrative office in Washington and our good friends on the 17th floor at Thurgood Marshall. It's not nice to ignore them, but you certainly don't want to encourage them or they'll never stop meddling. And as to our 17th floor relatives, I was a chemistry major, as you heard, and I know that it has been scientifically determined that the shortest measure of time is that between the time when a district judge becomes a circuit judge and the time when he or she forgets he or she was ever a district judge. Now, during the time we served as chiefs together, Carol and I were not only joined to each other's hips, but as you've heard, joined to the hips of chief judges nationwide. Together, we called attention to the devastating effects of the budget crisis on the federal courts, an undertaking in which the bar, including this august organization, was enormously supportive. As you heard, we fought to maintain 24/7 security in and around our courthouses because, in the words of former Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly in his letter of support, quote, "The safety of the Civic Center is a shared responsibility, and overall security will suffer if the courthouse reduces the level and duration of security." Thanks to our efforts and Commissioner Kelly's support, we have maintained 24/7 security at our courthouses. Carol and I have also pushed hard to gain our construction priorities to enhance the security of our courthouses. The Mother Court is close to completion of the long-awaited security screening pavilion to make the building more secure and to ease the entry of you lawyers, litigants, and the public. For Carol, as you've heard, it's the almost equally long-awaited Bollard project to secure the perimeter of the Brooklyn courthouse. This work involved innumerable phone calls and multiple train trips to plead with various denizens of DC. We thank the Federal Bar Council for your enormous support of us in these efforts. Speaking of pleading, I've been reminded only a few times during these 6+ years, usually by my colleagues, that one does not become chief by divine right, intelligence, merit, good looks, or election. Indeed, as Carol told you, it is merely by seniority. Less well known, however, is that the primary activity of the chief judge is one thing, pure and simple: begging. Begging a fellow judge to undertake more work by picking up a trial or Part 1 duty for a sick judge. Begging the chair of an important national committee or an important person at OMB to move the pavilion project forward. Begging the AO to buy us an additional server so our system doesn't go down every time we docket orders across MDL cases or the 9/11 cases. The most extraordinary thing, however, was that each and every one of the dozens of judges on our court always said yes. And that was enormously gratifying. Working and playing with all of my colleagues has been a great joy of this job. And I thank you for your support and for your friendship. Another great joy of being chief has been working with all of the dedicated public servants who make our court run. It's difficult to overstate the devotion of all of them, the people you see and the people you don't. They are single-handed in their service to the court and to the lawyers, the litigants, and the public we serve. It's been my privilege and my pleasure to work with them. Closer to home, I am forever in debt to my gracious and long-suffering chamber staff. Courtroom Deputy Megan Phillips, Judicial Assistant Samantha Giancarello, and generations of law clerks, many of whom are present here today. Not only did they take care of me and my cases, but during the chief years, they've shouldered numerous additional burdens, such as keeping track of committee work, helping sort cases and motions from departed judges, and attending to letters and often less than pleasant phone calls from some of our less than satisfied customers. After all, we only bat 500 at best. Whatever the aggravation of the day is, we always have nothing but fun. Speaking of aggravation, I guess I have to acknowledge Mr. Aggravation, my husband, Tom Caffrey. He often says that his job is to keep me humble. The problem is he's been doing that for in excess of 40 years and has become way too good at it. Nevertheless, as the court reporters who work with him every day say, it's never boring. Much less aggravating, and indeed the joys of my life, are our son Matt and our daughter Catherine. They've grown into charming, accomplished, and hardworking people who make Mr. Aggravation and me proud every day. And finally, I'm a firm believer in the maxim that good lawyers make judges look good. And as I conclude my term as Chief Judge, I want to thank all of you for making us judges look good, and you and this fine organization for all of your support, particularly during the budget process. It's a great honor to receive this award named for Emory Buckner, one of New York's greatest litigators, and to join the distinguished list of prior recipients. I will always cherish this moment. Thank you.